My hands tremble as I sign the divorce papers, the pen's scratch echoing in the luxurious conference room. Across from me, Maxwell's steel blue eyes hold no emotion, just like 5 years ago in my first life when he'd done this exact same thing. Except this time, I'm not crying. This time, his sister Charlotte isn't smirking from behind his shoulder. This time, I've already transferred his family's ancestral estate, worth $27 million, into my name, perfectly legal according to clause 16.4 of our prenuptial agreement, the same clause he used to destroy me before. Everything in order? Maxwell's lawyer asks, the question hanging in the air like a noose. I smile, the taste of victory sharp as citrus on my tongue. Almost. The first time Maxwell Harrington destroyed me, I never saw it coming. I was just Olivia Chen then, a nobody from a middle-class family who'd built a small but promising design firm. When billionaire heir Maxwell started frequenting my cafe/studio, I thought it was a fluke. When he asked me out, I was certain he'd lose interest within weeks. When he proposed 6 months later, I was dizzy with disbelief. "You're different," he'd said, slipping the 10-carat diamond onto my finger. Real, not like the others. His family's reaction was immediate and arctic. Charlotte, his younger sister, assessed me with eyes like polished stones, while his mother, Eleanor's smile stretched thin as piano wire. I convinced myself it was just adjustment, that I could win them over with sincerity and time. The prenuptial agreement arrived 3 days before our wedding. Just formalities, Maxwell assured me, the pages thick as a book. Every Harrington signs one. Eager to prove I wasn't after his money, I signed without having my own lawyer review it. My first catastrophic mistake. For 3 years, I shaped myself into the perfect Harrington wife. I redecorated our wing of the family mansion to Eleanor's taste, not mine. I managed Maxwell's social calendar, hosted his business dinners, stood by his side at galas with the right dress and the right smile. I tucked away my design work into late nights and early mornings, stealing time for my passion around the edges of my real job. Being Mrs. Harrington. Then came the photos. Me entering a hotel with a man who wasn't Maxwell. Text messages I never sent. A stranger's cologne on clothes I'd never worn. Charlotte found them, showed Maxwell, watched my life implode with a gleam in her eyes I now recognize as triumph. "I trusted you," Maxwell had said, voice flat with disgust. "I defended you to everyone." That's when I learned about clause 16.4, the infidelity provision. Not only would I leave the marriage with nothing, but my design business, which had been absorbed into Harrington Industries for tax purposes, was forfeit too. Everything I'd built gone. The divorce was quick, brutal. James, Maxwell's best friend, testified he'd seen me flirting with other men. Eleanor provided documentation of unstable behavior. I was excised from the Harrington family like a tumor. 6 months later, with my reputation destroyed and my business gone, I swallowed a bottle of sleeping pills in a dingy studio apartment. The darkness came as a relief. Until I woke up, 3 years earlier, in my old apartment, before I'd ever met Maxwell Harrington. I stared at my phone. October 15th, 2019. The date branded in my memory, exactly 2 weeks before I would meet Maxwell at my design studio, when he came in looking for custom art for his downtown office. In my first life, that meeting had been chance. This time, it would be destiny. I move into the Harrington mansion with a suitcase full of carefully selected clothes and a heart armored with memories of a future I'm rewiring. One calculated move at a time. The marble foyer gleams exactly as I remember, the chandelier casting fractured rainbows across the floor where I once sprawled, weeping as security escorted me out. "Welcome home, darling." Charlotte's arms wrap around me, her Chanel No. 5 perfume a suffocating cloud. Her cheek presses against mine, and only I can hear the whisper beneath her bright voice. "Try not to get too comfortable." I return her embrace, fingers digging slightly into the silk of her blouse. I'm looking forward to being family. That night at dinner, Charlotte's hand slips while reaching for the salt, sending a wave of red wine across the table. It splashes across my cream dress, a designer piece Maxwell gave me yesterday. "Oh my God, I'm so clumsy," Charlotte exclaims, hand over her mouth, eyes bright with something that isn't remorse. Maxwell dabs at my dress with his napkin, protective and concerned. Don't worry, we'll get it cleaned. I catch the flash in Charlotte's eyes, quick as a snake's strike, when Maxwell's attention focuses entirely on me. The jealousy radiates from her like heat from concrete in summer. In my first life, I mistook her resentment for snobbery. Now I understand. Charlotte can't stand any woman who claims a piece of her brother's affection. It's nothing, I say, smiling through the sting of déjà vu. My fingers tighten around my whiskey glass, the crystal cool against my skin. Family dinners should be memorable, right? Maxwell laughs, believing I'm taking it in stride. Charlotte narrows her eyes, perceiving the challenge beneath my words. Game on, sister dear. You destroyed me once. Let's see how you enjoy the same treatment. To Maxwell and Olivia, James Wilson raises his champagne glass, his smile gleaming as bright as his platinum cufflinks. May your marriage be as successful as your business ventures. The wedding guests chuckle appreciatively. I smile up at James, Maxwell's best friend since boarding school, the trusted confidant who will one day help dismantle my life and testify against me in divorce proceedings. His hand settles on my waist during photos, lingering seconds longer than appropriate. I feel his eyes tracking me throughout the reception, assessing, calculating. In my first life, I thought his attention was friendly interest. Now I recognize it for what it is: evaluation of whether I'm exploitable. 2 months after our wedding, I pass by Maxwell's home office and hear James's voice through the cracked door. The acquisition makes perfect sense, Max. Prism Designs has potential, but they're over-leveraged. We can absorb them for a fraction of their value. My blood freezes. Prism Designs. My company from my first life. The one I never started in this timeline because I was focused on entrapping Maxwell. The business that James helped Maxwell seize during our divorce? We'd need to move fast, Maxwell replies, before the owner realizes what she's sitting on. I'll draft the preliminary paperwork, James says. Trust me, it's a steal. I slip away from the door, bile rising in my throat. Even without my company existing in this timeline, James is showing his true colors. The predatory business practices he specializes in, targeting vulnerable smaller firms. At the charity gala the following week, James corners me by the silent auction. His bow tie is slightly crooked, his smile a precision instrument. Is everything okay with you and Max? He asks, voice low with manufactured concern. You seem different lately, distant. The back of my neck prickles. This is how it begins. James positioning himself as the sympathetic friend, the shoulder to cry on, gathering ammunition for later use. We couldn't be happier, I say, my smile fixed in place. Why do you ask? Just looking out for my best friend. His hand brushes my bare arm, so quick it could be dismissed as accidental. And you, of course, if you ever need to talk about anything, I'm here. His sincerity would be convincing if I hadn't heard him testify in court that I'd made inappropriate advances toward him, lies that help cement the infidelity narrative. That's so thoughtful, I reply, voice honeyed. Maxwell's lucky to have such devoted friends. James lifts his champagne in acknowledgement, unaware that I'm already planning his downfall. Eleanor Harrington passes me a delicate china teacup during Sunday brunch, her wedding rings clinking against the porcelain. Olivia, dear, remind me where you attended university? Her question sounds casual, but nothing with Eleanor is without purpose. Rhode Island School of Design, I answer, though she knows this already. The background check she ran on me was thorough. Her lips purse slightly. And your family is from Washington State, correct? No family business to speak of? My father teaches high school science. My mother is a librarian. I take a small bite of quiche, the eggs suddenly tasteless. They're simple people with simple means, but they gave me everything I needed. Eleanor nods, filing away this confirmation of my unsuitable background. We must go shopping this week. Your wardrobe needs a few Harrington-appropriate additions. The shopping trip becomes a masterclass in subtle undermining. Eleanor selects matronly dresses in washed-out colors, styles that diminish rather than enhance. This is perfect for a charity board meeting, she says, holding up a boxy jacket that would make me look 20 years older. Don't you think it's a bit conservative? I ask. Conservative is timeless, dear. We Harringtons think in terms of legacy, not fashion seasons. By the third boutique, her agenda is clear. Remake me into someone undesirable to Maxwell, someone who fades into the background of Harrington family portraits. After 2 weeks of marriage, Eleanor's expectations emerge with increasing frequency. The East Wing nursery will need updating soon, I expect, she comments over dinner. Harrington men have always been virile. Maxwell's father had him just 11 months after our wedding. Her implications sink into the conversation like stones into still water. In my first life, I internalized the pressure, began tracking ovulation and arranging romantic weekends. This time, I simply smile and change the subject. The discovery comes when I'm looking for a misplaced earring in Eleanor's study, a room I was explicitly told was private. In the bottom drawer of her desk, locked but easily picked with a hairpin. A skill I acquired during my post-divorce destitution. I find a thick folder with my name on it. Inside, background checks more detailed than I imagined. Financial records going back to my first job at 16. Medical reports including gynecological results. Psychological profiles based on my social media activity. A family tree highlighting my total lack of notable ancestry or connections. My hands shake as I photograph each page with my phone. This is the dossier that will be weaponized against me if I don't play my cards perfectly. Replacing the folder, I ghost through the house toward my room when voices from Eleanor's bedroom halt my steps. She's not Harrington material. Eleanor's voice, clipped and certain, will give Maxwell time to see it himself. Men always tire of novelty eventually. And if he doesn't, Charlotte asks, then we'll need to help him see more clearly. I won't have the Harrington legacy endangered by impure bloodlines. I press my back against the wall, heart hammering. In my first life, I never knew how coordinated their efforts were. I'd faced an orchestrated campaign rather than isolated slights. This time, I won't be their victim. This time, I know exactly what I'm up against. 3 months into my second chance at marriage, my phone chimes with an incoming email from Charlotte. The subject line reads, "Confidential, Asian market reports, do not forward." I open it to find confidential company documents, spreadsheets, projections, and strategy briefs for Harrington Industries' Asian division, which Charlotte manages. My lips curve into a smile as my phone immediately rings. "Did you get an email from me?" Charlotte's voice is high with panic beneath a veneer of casualness. "Just now," I reply. "I haven't had a chance to look at it yet." "Delete it immediately," she commands, then catches herself. "Please, it was meant for someone else entirely. Company documents, nothing interesting." "Of course," I say soothingly. "What's family for?" After hanging up, I scan the documents carefully. Charlotte has been cooking the books, inflating profits, hiding losses, projecting impossible growth rates. No wonder she's panicking. The Japanese investors Maxwell is meeting next week would run screaming if they saw the real numbers. I've been handed the perfect weapon. If I tell Maxwell about Charlotte's creative accounting, she'll claim I'm trying to drive a wedge between them. If I say nothing, I'm complicit when it inevitably falls apart. It's exactly the kind of no-win situation Charlotte excels at creating, but I'm playing a different game this time. I've been thinking of picking up languages again. I tell Maxwell casually over dinner. I studied Japanese in college. Maybe I could brush up, surprise you sometime. His eyes light up. That would be incredible. I've got those investors from Tokyo coming next week. I'm always afraid of making some cultural faux pas. I smile. Let me help you prepare. I could organize your presentation materials, maybe create a little cultural cheat sheet. You're amazing, he says, kissing me softly. What did I do to deserve you? You didn't, I think, but I smile and kiss him back. Late at night, while Maxwell sleeps, I pore over Charlotte's falsified reports, comparing them to industry standards and previous quarters. I create a translation guide for Maxwell with helpful Japanese business phrases and subtly embedded questions about specific financial metrics. For my masterstroke, I order a traditional Japanese gift for the lead investor, a handcrafted notebook bound in blue silk. Inside, I've hidden the real financial data, elegantly presented among Japanese business wisdom and cultural notes. The perfect Trojan horse. On the night of the investor dinner, I serve tea with practiced movements, every gesture a performance of perfect wifely support. Charlotte barely acknowledges me until the lead investor, Mr. Tanaka compliments my gift in fluent Japanese. Your wife has excellent taste, Mr. Harrington, he says, nodding respectfully in my direction. And her notes on Japanese business etiquette are most impressive. Charlotte's head snaps toward me, confusion clouding her features. I bow slightly, maintaining my gentle smile. The meeting proceeds smoothly until Mr. Tanaka delicately raises concerns about the Asian market projections, using almost the exact phrasing from my translation guide. These growth expectations seem optimistic given the region's current regulatory challenges, he says, gesturing to figures that precisely match the ones Charlotte inflated. Maxwell frowns, looking between the documents. Charlotte, can you explain this variance? My sister-in-law's face drains of color as she fumbles through explanations. Her eyes find mine across the table, sudden understanding dawning as I innocently pour more tea. Perhaps there was an error in the translation, I suggest gently, leaning toward Maxwell. The investors are concerned about these specific projections, I whisper, pointing to exactly the numbers Charlotte falsified. Maxwell squeezes my hand gratefully as Charlotte watches, her expression hardening into hatred. After the investors leave, Charlotte corners me in the powder room, grabbing my wrist hard enough to bruise. You did this, she hisses. How? Those documents were confidential. I check my lipstick in the mirror, my hands perfectly steady. Did what? Help save the company from your fraud? You sent those documents to me, Charlotte, remember? I'll tell Maxwell you're manipulating him, turning him against his family. I laugh softly. With what evidence? Your own cooked books? Go ahead. Explain to Maxwell how I somehow forced you to falsify financial projections for years. Her grip loosens as the reality of her situation sinks in. Her face contorts with impotent rage, but we both know she's trapped. The next morning, Maxwell announces he's temporarily relieving Charlotte of her Asian division duties pending a full audit. At the emergency board meeting, her voice breaks as she tries to explain the accounting errors that somehow escaped her notice. Eleanor's disappointed gaze weighs heavy on Charlotte, not me, for once. That night, Maxwell pulls me close in bed, his voice rough with emotion. I never thought Charlotte would risk the company like this. Thank God you were there. Your language skills saved us from a disaster. I wrap my arms around him, offering comfort while my mind races ahead to the next move. Family is complicated, I murmur, but I'm always on your side. 3 days later, Charlotte appears at our door. Her eyes are red-rimmed, her typically perfect appearance slightly disheveled. Pride has cost her sleepless nights. I need to speak with you, she says, voice stripped of its usual confidence. Alone. I lead her to the morning room, offering tea, the same special blend I served at the investor meeting. She flinches slightly at the sight of it. I made mistakes, she admits, the words clearly painful. I need your help with Maxwell. He'll barely speak to me. What exactly are you asking for? The question hangs between us. Your influence. He listens to you. The words scrape out of her throat. Please, the company is my life. I let the silence stretch, watching her squirm. This is the woman who smiled as security escorted me from the building in my first life, who helped fabricate evidence of infidelity, who took pleasure in my destruction. I might be able to help, I finally say, with conditions. Relief washes over her face. Anything. You'll step back from certain company positions, specifically those with direct oversight of financial reporting. You'll return the family vacation property in Aspen that you claimed as your personal retreat, and you'll sign this. I slide a document across the table. What is this? She scans the paper suspiciously. A sisterly agreement, documenting our new understanding. Charlotte hesitates, then signs without reading the fine print, mirroring language from clause 16.4 of my prenup, creating a binding contract that will become crucial later. The perfect symmetry makes me smile. She hugs me afterward, gratitude falsely softening her features. Over her shoulder, I look at the signed paper on the desk. 1 enemy neutralized, 2 to go. Just a casual lunch to discuss Maxwell's birthday surprise, James insisted when he called to invite me out. Now, sitting in a private booth at Le Cirque, I watch him order an expensive wine without consulting me. You look lovely today, he says, eyes lingering on the neckline of my blouse. That color brings out your eyes. My phone records everything in my purse as I excuse myself to the restroom. On the way back, I quietly ask our waiter to take photos at specific intervals, innocent in reality but easily misinterpreted when selectively viewed. Maxwell works too much, James comments, swirling his wine. I worry about how that affects you both. How thoughtful of you to be concerned, I reply. I've always looked out for Maxwell's partners. His fingers brush mine as he refills my glass. Sometimes they need someone to talk to, someone who understands the pressures of being with a Harrington. The conversation continues, James dropping increasingly suggestive comments disguised as friendly concern. When I return home, I review the recording, extracting his most inappropriate remarks. The next day, I visit Maxwell's secretary, Annie, for lunch. James Wilson? Annie's nose wrinkles slightly. He's always talking down to the support staff, thinks we're furniture. After some gentle prodding, Annie reveals what I suspected. James has a pattern of approaching Maxwell's girlfriends, testing their loyalty or exploiting their dissatisfaction. It happened with Veronica for sure, Annie confides. Maybe others. He calls it vetting, but it always seemed creepy to me. I create a digital trail over the next 2 weeks. Concerned texts from James checking on me when Maxwell works late. My careful responses that remain proper but could be misinterpreted without context. The trap fully baited, I accept James's invitation to discuss a confidential business opportunity at his apartment. Maxwell will be working late, or so James believes. I arrive wearing a recording device and the perfume Maxwell gave me for our anniversary. James answers the door in casual clothes, surprised registering at my conservative outfit. Drink? He offers, gesturing to an open bottle of scotch. Just a small one. I pretend to sip while actually drinking nothing. After small talk, James reveals his true purpose. I've noticed things between you and Max seem strained lately. Do they? You deserve better than being taken for granted. He sits closer. I could help you negotiate better terms if things go south. Maxwell never reads the fine print anyway. The recording device captures his words with perfect clarity. Max never needs to know we had this conversation. It could be our insurance policy. His hand rests on my shoulder, squeezing lightly. We could be more than friends, Olivia, if circumstances changed. The apartment door opens. James freezes, hand still on my shoulder. Maxwell stands there, face ashen, holding the spare key James had given him years ago. The timing is perfect, exactly as planned when I accidentally mentioned James's invitation within Annie's hearing, knowing she'd tell Maxwell. Maxwell! I jump up, performance of shock flawless. James said you were meeting us here to discuss your birthday surprise. James's desperate attempts to explain only dig him deeper. I confusedly ask what he meant about an insurance policy. Maxwell's eyes darken as I play the recording where James mentions Maxwell's previous relationships, the tests of loyalty. You've done this before, haven't you? Maxwell's voice cuts like ice. She set me up, James accuses, which only makes him look more guilty. My tears come easily. Real because I'm remembering how James helped to destroy me in my past life, how he testified against me with practiced sincerity. When I reach for tissues, the folder of business misconduct accidentally slides from my bag, documentation of years of James's unethical dealings that I compiled while reorganizing Maxwell's home office. Maxwell flips through the evidence, his rage deepening with each page. Get out, he finally says to his oldest friend. Don't call, don't email, we're done. James begs Maxwell to understand as security escorts him from the building. The next morning, emergency board meetings are called. By afternoon, James's name is being removed from the company letterhead, his executive parking space reassigned. Legal teams announce a full investigation into irregularities in his business dealings. That night, my phone rings with James's number, his voice slurred with alcohol. You planned this, he accuses. Somehow you knew everything. This isn't over. I play the recording for Maxwell, who immediately files a restraining order. Within days, the Wall Street Journal runs an article detailing James's fall from grace, raising questions about his other business ventures. His reputation crumbles as former victims of his predatory practices come forward. A week later, security cameras catch James at our gate in the pouring rain, begging to speak with Maxwell. My husband wraps his arm around me protectively as guards turn James away. I'm just glad you saw his true colors, I whisper in Maxwell's ear, before he could hurt you or the company worse. Maxwell kisses my forehead. I don't know what I'd do without you. I smile. 2 down, 2 to go. Our first wedding anniversary approaches like a storm on the horizon. In my previous life, this was when things began to unravel. The first whispers of gossip, the first planted evidence. This time, I'm prepared. I have something to tell you, I say to Maxwell over breakfast, sliding an envelope across the table. He opens it, brow furrowing at the legal paperwork inside. Phoenix Design Collective. Is this yours? I nod. I've been working on launching my own design firm. It's finally official. You never mentioned wanting to start a business. Confusion clouds his features. Why didn't you ask me for help? For funding? The question echoes across timelines. In my first life, I maintained my independent business until merger suggestions became too persistent to ignore. Some things I need to build myself, I say carefully, to know they're truly mine. Understanding dawns slowly in his eyes. Not complete understanding. He can never know how thoroughly his family stripped me of everything, but enough. I'm proud of you, he says finally. Whatever you need, just ask. For our anniversary dinner, Maxwell presents his gift. A vintage Jaguar I once mentioned loving. My gift to him, incorporating Harrington Industries as Phoenix's first major client. He raises his glass. To my brilliant wife and her independent spirit, I've never met anyone like you. If only you knew how true that is, I think. 2 weeks later, a strange visitor appears at my new design studio. The elderly Chinese woman introduces herself as Madame Zhou, though I've never met her in either life. The phoenix rises from ashes once again, Miss Lin, she says, her knowing smile stopping my heart. Excuse me? Shock makes my voice brittle. It's Mrs. Harrington. In this life, perhaps. She settles into a chair without invitation. But we both know that's not the whole truth, don't we? My office door swings shut on its own and I sink weakly into my chair. How do you know? I am a guardian of returned souls, she explains, one who helps those given a second chance. Returned souls? My voice barely carries across the desk. You are not alone. Madame Zhou's eyes hold ancient wisdom. Others have returned to rewrite their fates. Some for love, some for justice. Her gaze sharpens. Some for revenge. Tears spring to my eyes, the relief of being truly seen overwhelming. I died, I whisper. And then I woke up 3 years earlier. The universe rarely grants such chances without purpose, she says. But remember, the universe balances itself. What you take must be earned. Madame Zhou places a small jade pendant on my desk. This will warm when someone lies to you, a small protection against those who would deceive you again. I slip it around my neck, the stone cool against my skin. Someone has been watching over me, guiding me. Let's say the universe has rules, but also compassion for those treated unjustly. She rises to leave and then pauses. What do you seek in this new life, Olivia? Justice? Or mere revenge? I hesitate. Is there a difference? Revenge and justice share a blade's edge. Your heart will determine which side cuts. Her eyes hold mine. Be careful not to become what once destroyed you. At the door, Madame Zhou turns back. One last gift. The safety deposit box at First National. Account number 8294. You opened it in your previous life, but death didn't close it. After she leaves, I race to the bank she mentioned. Using my ID, the same in both timelines, I access a box I have no memory of creating. Inside, stock certificates for early investments in tech companies. Apple, Amazon, Tesla, purchased in my previous life with a small inheritance from my grandmother. Investments forgotten in the chaos of my marriage, divorce, and death, now worth millions. I sit in my car outside the bank, certificates clutched to my chest, laughing through tears, the ultimate security, wealth independent of the Harrington name. Within weeks, Phoenix Design is expanding, acquiring smaller companies, becoming a legitimate competitor in the industry. Design publications feature our innovative work, my name rising separate from my marriage. Maxwell watches with surprise and admiration as my company grows. sometimes competing for the same clients as Harrington subsidiaries. I had no idea you were so ambitious, he says one night, pride and something like uncertainty mixing in his voice. There's a lot about me you're still learning, I reply. The board of Harrington Industries votes on whether to acquire Phoenix, not knowing I can't be bought. Walking into that boardroom as a business equal rather than Maxwell's accessory sends electricity through my veins. The next day, Eleanor appears at my office unannounced. Her imperious gaze sweeps the modern space, finding it lacking. We need to talk about your intentions, she announces without preamble. My intentions? I gesture for her to sit. With Maxwell, with Harrington Industries. Her eyes narrow. This sudden business venture, your reluctance to start a family? I'm concerned about where your priorities lie. The jade pendant warms against my skin, as she claims to want only what's best for Maxwell, for the family legacy. I know about the investigations, Eleanor, I say calmly. The dossiers you keep on anyone who gets close to your son. Her expression remains composed, but her hands tighten on her purse. Any prudent mother would... I also had you investigated. I open a drawer, removing a folder of my own. Eleanor's face pales as I slide photographs across the desk. Images from decades ago. A young Eleanor working as a waitress in a roadside diner, long before she married into wealth and reinvented herself as old money aristocracy. Your origins aren't quite as blue-blooded as you've led everyone to believe, I observe. I wonder what Maxwell would think about the fiction you've maintained. You wouldn't dare. But uncertainty creeps into her voice. I also found this. I push forward documentation of a trust fund in Eleanor's name. Money skimmed from company profits over decades. Does Maxwell know about this account? The board? Our eyes meet in perfect understanding. I've just proven I'm as ruthless as she is, as capable of destruction. What do you want? She finally asks. Mutual respect and peace, I say simply, or mutual destruction. Your choice. Eleanor studies me with new eyes, finally recognizing a player as skilled as herself. After a long moment, she extends her hand. The pendant cools against my skin, her first genuine gesture. Perhaps I underestimated what makes someone Harrington material, she concedes. I grasp her hand firmly. I'm not Harrington material. I'm something entirely my own. The legal notification arrives exactly 3 years after our wedding date. My heart pounds as I open the envelope, though I knew it was coming. Clause 16.4 of our prenuptial agreement, mandatory review and potential revision on the 3rd anniversary. This clause destroyed me in my first life, when it was weaponized during our divorce to strip me of everything. This time, I'm ready. Just some paperwork from the lawyers, Maxwell mentions casually over breakfast. They're suggesting we remove some of the harsher clauses in the prenup, nothing important. My hands tremble slightly as I sip my coffee. We've reached the exact day when everything fell apart in my past life. The lawyer's office is unchanged. The same mahogany conference table where I once signed divorce papers, tears blurring my vision. Now I sit with dry eyes as Maxwell's attorney slides over the revised agreement. My blood chills as I scan the document. It's nearly identical to the divorce settlement from my past life. Clauses that would leave me vulnerable without protection. It's just a formality, Maxwell assures me, noticing my hesitation. The lawyers insist. The jade pendant rests cold against my skin. He believes what he's saying. He's not orchestrating this. He's just following advice, signing what's put in front of him. Just like I did once. Could we speak privately? I ask Maxwell, my voice steady. The lawyers exchange glances before filing out, closing the door behind them. Silence stretches between us, heavy with an unspoken history he doesn't remember. Did you read this? I finally ask, tapping the document. His smile is slightly embarrassed. You know how these legal documents are, impenetrable. Who requested this review? Was it your idea? Maxwell shifts uncomfortably. Mom thought it would be smart to update some provisions. Standard practice, she said. Of course, Eleanor's final move, 3 years in the making. Let me show you something. I point to specific clauses designed to leave me with nothing in case of divorce, each one crafted to protect Harrington assets at my expense. Maxwell's expression grows defensive. It's just business, Olivia. All wealthy families have these protections. All wealthy families, I repeat softly. Not husbands and wives who trust each other? I reach into my briefcase and place another document on the table. Maxwell frowns as he reads the transfer paperwork for the Harrington ancestral estate. The property that's been in his family for 5 generations. What is this? His voice rises in confusion. Turn to page 4 of your prenup. Clause 16.4 doesn't just allow you to protect your assets. It has another provision. If the agreement is revised in a way that significantly disadvantages either party, that party may claim compensation. I tap the estate transfer. Like this property. That's impossible. Maxwell flips frantically through the prenup. No one would include such a clause. Your lawyers did. They just never imagined it would be used against you. I meet his gaze steadily. I've studied every word of our agreement, Maxwell. I found the loophole your family never noticed. Realization dawns in his eyes, followed quickly by anger. You planned this? All along? I protected myself, I say evenly, just like you taught me to. His phone rings, Eleanor, then Charlotte, as word spreads about the estate transfer. The car ride home passes in silence, the distance between us expanding into a chasm. By evening, the entire Harrington family has gathered in the mansion's grand library. Eleanor's face is carved from ice, Charlotte's eyes red from crying. Maxwell standing apart, conflicted. The lawyers confirm it's legally binding, Eleanor says, voice brittle with fury. She's stolen the family estate. Stolen? I laugh softly. I used the legal framework you created, the same one you've wielded against others for decades. Charlotte lunges forward, tears streaming down her face. She's played us all. She never loved Maxwell. That's enough, Maxwell commands, his voice sharp enough to silence the room. I stand, smoothing my skirt with steady hands. Let me tell you a story about the Harrington family. I begin, my voice clear in the stifling silence. About a woman who married into it with nothing but love and trust. One by one, I recount every manipulation, every scheme they enacted against me, the falsified evidence of infidelity, the business sabotage, the systematic isolation, events they recognized but cannot place as they happened in a timeline erased. How could you possibly know about the clause? Eleanor demands, calculation replacing anger in her eyes. No one outside our legal team knew those details. I have resources you can't imagine, I reply calmly, the jade pendant cool against my skin. Just as I know about Charlotte's embezzlement that almost tanked the Asian division. Just as I know about James's pattern of testing your girlfriends, Maxwell. Their shocked expressions would be comical if the situation weren't so grave. Eleanor's gaze sharpens. What do you want? Name your price. What do I want? I echo, considering. Interesting question from someone who tried to destroy me. Maxwell steps forward, anguish etching lines around his mouth. Was any of it real? Did you ever love me at all? The jade pendant warms against my skin as emotion fills his voice. The first completely honest question he's asked. I loved you completely, I answer, my voice softening with painful honesty. In another life, that love destroyed me. Confusion clouds their faces, not understanding the literal truth of my words. These are my terms, I continue, steel returning to my voice. I keep the estate, my company remains independent, and the family publicly acknowledges their manipulations. Or what? Charlotte challenges. Or I reveal every Harrington secret I've uncovered during my careful years of planning. Every questionable business deal, every tax shelter, every personal indiscretion. I meet each pair of eyes. I have receipts for it all. The library falls silent except for the ticking of the antique clock, the same one that witnessed my humiliation in another lifetime. Days pass in tense silence. The Harringtons retreat to lick their wounds and plot countermoves that never materialize. My evidence too substantial, my position too secure. Charlotte arrives at Phoenix Design's offices with an expensive peace offering, a rare art piece I once admired. Her rehearsed apology flows smoothly, ending with an outstretched hand. We're still family, she concludes. We should put this unpleasantness behind us. I study her perfectly composed features, remembering her smirk as security escorted me from the building in my first life. No, I say simply, your regret doesn't erase what you did. Her smile falters. Excuse me. No, I repeat. I don't accept your apology or your gift. Please leave. Her shock is almost worth the years of pain she caused. Almost. A week later, a courier delivers a business proposal from James, a partnership offer with remarkable terms, accompanied by a handwritten note begging forgiveness. I return the contract with a single word written across it in red ink. No. Eleanor's invitation to tea at her exclusive club arrives next, an olive branch from a woman who never admits defeat. The handwritten note acknowledges my impressive strategic mind and offers alliance rather than enmity. I attend the tea but leave my cup untouched, rising after just 5 minutes. No, I say to her stunned expression. Some bridges stay burned. The hardest confrontation comes last. Maxwell waits in my office after hours one evening, his face haggard with realization, the past months aging him visibly. I've been thinking about everything you said, he begins, hands clasped tightly. About the pressure my family put on you, about how I never questioned their influence. He meets my eyes directly. I'm sorry, Olivia, truly. I failed to protect you to see what was happening. His apology is everything I once dreamed of hearing, the validation of my experience, the acknowledgement of his blindness. In my first life, these words might have saved me, but we're not those people anymore. I appreciate that, I say, my voice finally breaking, but I can't go back to being who I was. I slide the divorce papers across my desk, already prepared, waiting for this moment. Maxwell stares at them, shoulders slumping. Is there any chance for us? His voice barely carries across the desk. The most difficult no of all forms in my throat. Not in this lifetime, we've both changed too much. Rain streams down the windows as he walks away for the last time, shoulders bent under the weight of what we've lost. The weight lifts from mine as I watch him go, the cycle finally broken. 1 year later, morning sunlight streams through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my oceanfront home. The scent of coffee mingles with salt air as I pad barefoot onto the deck, watching dolphins leap in the distance. The Harrington estate sold for more than its estimated value, the proceeds divided among charities supporting domestic abuse survivors. Phoenix Design now occupies offices in 3 cities, my name recognized throughout the industry. On my coffee table lies a magazine with my face on the cover. Rising from Ashes, How Olivia Chen Built an Empire from Scratch. In the photograph, I'm wearing a red suit, no makeup covering my natural self, eyes clear and direct. The jade pendant still hangs around my neck, a reminder of both lives lived, of choices made and unmade. A letter arrived yesterday from Maxwell's new charitable foundation, seeking design collaboration for community centers in underserved neighborhoods. His personal note was friendly but professional, without hint of our shared history. I trace my finger over the letterhead, considering. For the first time in years, I can breathe fully, deeply, without the weight of revenge constricting my chest. Perhaps collaboration is possible, now that we've both been transformed by fire. The design conference buzzes with energy as I conclude my keynote speech. Applause washes over me as I step back from the podium, acknowledging the standing ovation with a small bow. In the crowd, a familiar face catches my attention. Maxwell applauding with the others, his expression thoughtful. Beside him stands a woman I don't recognize, tall, athletic, with laugh lines around her eyes. Nothing like the artificial perfection I once strived for. Later, at the reception, we exchange professional nods. To my surprise, he approaches with his companion. Congratulations on the keynote, he says. Your innovations in sustainable design are impressive. Thank you. My response comes easier than expected. How's the foundation work going? We talk briefly, professionally. His new partner excuses herself to the buffet, leaving us momentarily alone. You were right, Maxwell says quietly. About everything. Thank you for waking me up. The sincerity in his eyes is something I never saw in our marriage. A hard-won wisdom. He hands me his business card, Maxwell Harrington, CEO of Harrington Community Development. No longer at Harrington Industries, but heading his own smaller, ethically focused venture. I wish you success, I say, meaning it. The cycle of hurt finally broken between us. You too, he responds. You deserve it. As they walk away, I feel an unexpected lightness. My revenge gave us both freedom we couldn't have found otherwise. Him from his family's toxic legacy, me from victimhood. My new design studio overlooks the ocean, drafting table positioned to catch perfect morning light. Photographs of completed projects line one wall: a community arts center, a sustainable housing development, a renovated historical theater. Lily, the young designer I'm mentoring, studies my latest sketches with intense concentration. Her talent reminds me of myself before everything happened, before Maxwell, before Rebirth, when creation was pure joy. "Can I ask you something personal?" she asks suddenly, setting down her pencil. "Depends on the question," I reply with a smile. "Weren't you afraid? To start over completely after your divorce? To build something from nothing?" I consider her question, looking out at the endless horizon. Starting over was the only way to find who I really am. The truth of this settles in my chest like a warm stone. Through revenge, I discovered something unexpected. Not just strength, but identity separate from both victimhood and vengeance. Invitations to speak at women's business conferences pile on my desk, each asking me to share lessons of resilience. I've become known for rebuilding, for phoenix-like transformation. If only they knew how literal that transformation was. The studio door opens without a knock, and Madame Jo enters, seemingly unchanged by the passing year. Her knowing smile acknowledges how I've grown beyond revenge. "You broke the cycle instead of repeating it," she observes, inspecting my designs with approving nods. "Few returned souls manage that wisdom." I almost didn't, I admit. Revenge consumed me for so long. Yet here you stand, creating rather than destroying. She touches my arm gently. "The universe chose well when it granted you a second chance." After she leaves, I open the journal where I sometimes write letters to my past self, offering forgiveness and understanding to the naive young woman who signed a prenup without reading it, who trusted without verification, who died alone and betrayed. "You did the best you could with what you knew," I write, "and your pain created something beautiful in the end." The evening ritual of watching the sunset from my deck marks another day fully lived. Plans for a creative retreat spread across the table. My next project to help others find their vision after loss. My travel journal waits beside them, filled with places I'll visit now that nothing holds me back. Japan for the cherry blossoms, Morocco for the architecture, Greece for the light that painters have chased for centuries. My phone chimes with a text from Charlotte, another apology I don't need anymore, but acknowledge with grace. News reports show Eleanor has stepped down from the Harrington board, retired to a quieter life at her country estate. The weight of the jade pendant rests in my palm as I consider removing it for the first time since Madame Jo placed it around my neck. I haven't needed its warning warmth in months. I've learned to trust my own judgment, to see truth without magical assistance. Madame Jo appears one final time, materializing beside me as the sun touches the horizon. "Some tools we outgrow when their purpose is served," she suggests gently, nodding toward the pendant. Her wisdom resonates through me. I slip the necklace over my head, feeling no loss of power or protection. The strength was always within me, not in the stone. With perfect arc, I throw the pendant into the ocean, not in anger, but in release. The water catches the last rays of sun, glittering like possibility across the endless horizon. "This life is mine alone," I whisper into the salt-scented breeze. "The only vow that matters now." Madame Jo smiles in approval before fading like mist into the gathering twilight, her purpose complete. I remain on the deck until stars emerge, planning tomorrow's creations with hands that once signed away my future but now build my own destiny. The phoenix risen, transformed, free,